Hello and welcome to PlayPicks.com. My name is Matt Brown, and if you follow the PlayPicks podcast, you are already aware who this gentleman in the other corner of the screen is for me. This is Brett Colson. If not, you should definitely subscribe to the PlayPicks podcast where we talk about all things betting in DFS, and we are going to start doing videos like this where we help you guys kind of look at the way things have been going so far in the sports world, and then we look ahead at the week in front of us. Brett, this is our first time doing this, so we're just going to tell everybody, hey, this one might not be the very best one that we do, but we are going to give it our best effort here. I can promise you that.
Yeah, well, you can already see it by the lousy video I have over here. We're going to work on that over the weekend. But yeah, happy to join you. You've been a first-rate host for us over at The Line, so I hope I can only return the favor here as a guest host on the Play Picks.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. Hit that subscribe button down below, of course. Give us a thumbs up. And then also in the comment section, be sure and let us know anything that we talk about. If you want to give us your side of things, your best bet of the week, what bet you're looking forward to making, whatever it might be, or even how someone screwed you. Let's start conversations down in the comments because those are always fun.
Yeah, get those bad beats in there.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, listen, there were some this week, so we'll definitely talk about those. And of course, add thelines.com to your daily website intake every time that you want to go and start messing around and looking at websites. Of course, www.thelines.com. And that's what you're looking at on the screen right here. Going to take a look at this article right here. You can click this. This goes up every single week where they take a look at the lines and the look aheads and different things like that, Brett. And, we basically, if you're new to kind of what we do here, obviously we focus on the legal regulated sports books over there in New Jersey. Right now you got DraftKings, BetStars, FanDuel, and 888 Sport on the page. And so these are certainly the guys that we work with and some of the guys that are giving really some of the best bonus offers in the country right now.
Yeah, and that's where we focus most of our attention is on the early lines here with this article, the early lines that are up in New Jersey. We get them up as early as anybody, I think, on Monday. So if you want to compare the prices and the lines and the odds and the totals, we've got them all for you Monday, and you definitely want to check that out if you are a price shopper.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. And some of these lines come out and might jump off the page to you. So something you want to take a look at. Let's look at week 13 just a little bit here, Brett. And of course, we will, as you can see on the screen here, we'll flip through and we'll look at DraftKings Sportsbook. We'll look at FanDuel Sportsbook as well to kind of look at their lines. But let's talk briefly about something that went on in week 13 here. Over at DraftKings Sportsbook, the most bet teams, Saints, Steelers, Rams, Chargers, Seahawks. Do any of those like jump off the page to you as weird? Because I mean, look, the Saints on a winning streak, I get it. The Steelers, an island game, I get that as well. Rams continue to roll, coming off a bye. I guess people maybe were betting that team there. And then Chargers obviously on the other side there, and then the Seahawks, another team that kind of started rolling. Any of those most bet teams seem odd or weird to you?
Not at all. You've got 5 good teams there. So and the public did pretty well outside of the top 2 there, the Saints and the Steelers. But yeah, I mean, obviously the Saints on that island game are going to be extremely popular, and the books were extremely happy with the way that one played out.
And the least bet teams at DraftKings in week 13, the Raiders, Niners, Bengals, Lions, and Redskins. Yeah. What do all those teams have in common other than the Redskins and now even the Redskins? You can put them in the
they're there now too.
You can put them in the list as well. These are teams with little to no hope. And honestly, the only thing I guess that was a little weird to me was the least bet team being one of the least bet teams being the Redskins, just because again, going into that game, I think there was at least the notion that Colt McCoy wasn't that big of a drop off from Alex Smith. And so to see them come in as one of the least bet teams was a little shocking to me.
Yeah, and you have the Eagles not playing all that well either. I thought that line was pretty fair. We actually, my team had the Redskins in the Super Contest this week. We thought it was a good spot for them, but you get an injury to Colt McCoy, and you got Mark Sanchez as your hope at quarterback. I mean, it fell apart pretty quickly.
The guys over at Sugar House, the biggest win for the bettors on the week was Central Florida's 56-41 win over Memphis. They said that was the one that the bettors over there took home the most money on. That wasn't actually looking like a sure thing for a while there. It looks like Memphis, I mean, all the tickers and everything, if you're watching any NFL game, was certainly bringing up the fact that Memphis was getting out to a big lead there over UCF, but that evaporated, and now UCF going to be heading out to Arizona to play in the Fiesta Bowl against my LSU Tigers there, Brett. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
You gotta predict. I mean, they wiped the floor with Auburn last year. You got a prediction on that one?
25 straight wins for a team, even if they're in a conference that people don't consider to be a good conference. Winning 25 straight games, not coming out flat in any game for 2 whole seasons is pretty crazy. I mean, that's a pretty good stat, you know. So it'll be interesting. I know one of the star players for LSU has already said that he is not going to play in the bowl game. One of the other ones said he is, and so we'll that's another thing that maybe as we do these videos leading into bowl season, we'll talk about, because I think that's going to be another thing that we need to watch kind of as bettors moving forward is, you know, what's the motivation of these certain teams? Did they come into the season with high hopes? Did they think that they were going to do well and instead they ended up in some crap bowl game? Or are some of these players just going to sit out because they're, you know, projected to go in one of the first 2 rounds maybe of the NFL draft and think that this really isn't worth, the juice isn't worth the squeeze when it comes to the injury risk?
Yeah, those are players who can actually move lines. You're talking about some big time players who, I mean, maybe a quarterback, maybe an edge rusher who can, you know, move a line of point, and deservedly so. These guys impact games. So yeah, definitely something to keep an eye on as we get closer to bowl season here. Yeah,
one of the things too, I want to point out just that we saw this past week here, and as we move forward and we'll start, you know, going through these various games here that you see on the page and whatnot, it's just the fact of, you know, you get late in the season and climate starts to change in some locations, fatigue starts to wear in and different things like that. And you see some of these teams really struggle on the road because you're not sleeping in your own bed. It's been a long season. You're going into a different, you know, for some of these teams, you're going into a much different climate than you're used to playing in. And what we saw, Brett, this week, Saints really struggled at the Cowboys. Bears struggled at the Giants. Colts struggled at the Jags. Browns struggled at the Texans. Panthers at the Bucks. Chiefs at the Raiders. Vikings at the Patriots. I mean, all these teams and several of these teams that were on a roll, several of these teams that I think people would have said were likely going to blow out even their opponents. Certainly in the case of you know, the Bears and the Giants, even the Saints and Cowboys, a lot of people thought that'd be a blowout. The Chiefs and the Raiders definitely thought that'd be a blowout. I'm sure there were lots that thought the Panthers were going to handle up on the Bucks. And we're getting to that time of year where these home road dogs are really going to start jumping off the page here, I think, in the last month of the season.
Yeah, we might talk about it here as we look ahead to week 14. I totally agree. Road dogs are always teams I try to, or I'm sorry, home dogs are teams I try to attack when I'm betting. So I think there's some good spots this week as well.
And one thing just to kind of want to get your thoughts on here as we move forward into these last 4 weeks of the season, just kind of, I think one of the things we want to bring to our viewers here and listeners and whatnot is just the fact that I think there will be some teams here who roll over. I think the motivation factor for a team like the Falcons, the Bengals, the Lions, and the Packers is really going to play into effect. Maybe the Packers on the opposite end, but the Falcons, Bengals, and Lions. I mean, listen, the Falcons certainly didn't expect to be where they are sitting right now. The Bengals, every year they go in thinking they're going to be able to compete. The Lions had put together, you know, brought in some big name players, thought that maybe they were going to be able to compete. All three of those teams are completely out of it here. Some of those dealing with massive injuries. Some of those teams just absolutely, you know, I mean, I can't even imagine if there's a team that underperformed more than the Falcons this year. What's your thought on those three teams?
Well, considering I picked the Falcons to win the Super Bowl, I totally agree. Yeah, the Falcons and Packers especially, I mean, public perception is still, you would think, typically higher on those teams than most, even this late in the season when their season appears to be over. I mean, you got Aaron Rodgers and the Falcons with that high-flying offense. So, yeah, I think of course, those two teams play each other this week, so that'll be an interesting one. But, I totally agree. There are some teams that laid down. We thought it was the Jaguars last week, but they got that home game in against the division rival, a pretty good spot, actually, to take them. But, yeah, there are definitely some teams that you might say have already started thinking about the golf course.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the only thing if you wanted to create a narrative with the Packers would be with McCarthy being out of there. Maybe they go on this kind of FU tour and Aaron Rodgers just plays out of his mind here and the whole team rallies around the fact that they got him out of town. But yeah, really, really disappointing for those four teams and certainly something I'm going to keep in mind as I look to kind of handicap these games moving forward because, they've got to be deflated and feeling pretty terrible in all of this. All right, so let's take a look here at the lines. As you can see, compare all the sports books here. We can flip over to DraftKings. Well, they're going to make me sign back in. That's the other thing. There's a New Jersey regulations do not let you just sit online here. They want to make sure that you are who you say you are, and no, someone doesn't sit down in front of the computer and take off here. But we're looking at the FanDuel Sportsbook here, and of course, lots of offers they're running, these, parlay insurance things and whatnot. So if you want to take advantage of those, of course, you can head to the lines or to Play Picks, and we have all of those and more with really good bonus offers and things like that. But let's talk about this first game here, the Jaguars and Titans real quick. Jaguars heading on the road to face the Titans. Titans 4-point home favorites in this one, a 37.5 total. That was really the first thing that jumped off the page to me whenever I was looking at this, was a 37.5 total in 2018,
Yeah, not the matchup you want to see if you like these fast-paced, high-scoring games on the island slate. But that one. I like defense, so I kind of like this, but there are going to be most fans who are going to be looking ahead to Sunday.
Yeah, Falcons and the Packers here. 6-point favorites are the Packers at home against this Falcons team. 49 is the total here at FanDuel Sportsbook. If you take a look as we compare some of these other ones, you can see where, because again, this was this article posted on Monday, so you can see everybody already started to pound the over in this game, has moved it from 47.5 all the way up there to 49. Looking at the same over there on DraftKings Sportsbook at 49 as well. Interesting, I think, Brett, that the over is getting pounded in this game, considering how terrible the Falcons offense has looked really over the last month of this season.
Yeah, the total is the most interesting thing about this game, because when I first looked at it, I was surprised too. But look, it's going to be cold. It's Matt Ryan away from home outside. And I mean, all the trends and narratives kind of favor the Packers here. So, I think this line will probably close at 7 for Green Bay. And I'm really curious to see if this total gets above 50.
Yeah, pretty crazy how that one moved in that direction so quickly. Because I just don't, man, if you've watched this Atlanta team play, you understand they are just all out of whack. I mean, cannot get anything going, especially in the red zone. Ravens and Chiefs 7-point home favorites, a total of 53 in this one. Brett, this Chiefs team went on the road, and we talked about, again, just playing on the road late in the season, and kind of struggled last week. I mean, when you consider that they were really supposed to go in there and just blow the doors off of the Raiders, and instead kind of had to really fight for that win here. Now they're back at home, 7-point favorites over the Ravens and Lamar Jackson. This line almost seems a little short to me, because I believe that this Ravens team, if you can get out ahead of them, I have no faith whatsoever in Lamar Jackson's ability to pass the ball and be able to catch up here. And if there's ever a team that's going to be able to get out in front, it could be this Chiefs team.
Yeah, I totally agree with you about Lamar Jackson. He's not throwing them back into this game. I mean, that's just not how this offense is built. This is one of the two games I'm really excited about this week, because we get to test the hypothesis. Does defense still matter in the NFL? You got the number 4 defense in Baltimore. You got the number 1 offense in Kansas City. I'm with you. I'm a little surprised the line isn't just 7 here. I imagine it will close right at 7, but we'll see. I guess we'll see how they move it.
Yeah, pretty interesting. And if you wanted to get on the Chiefs, it is still 6.5 over at FanDuel. If you wanted to get over there and take a look at that one, moved a little bit over there on FanDuel. The Panthers and the Browns here. Panthers 2-point road favorites heading in to face Cleveland. Of course, Cleveland coming off of a pretty big stinker. It's 2 at both places, at DraftKings and at FanDuel here. This is an interesting game to me, because if you watched the Panthers, and I did because I had a lot of daily fantasy action on that game, I also had some monetary betting action on that game. Cam Newton does not look right to me. He showed up on the injury report about week 10, and since week 10, his passes of 15 or more yards down the field have resulted in incompletions like 69% of the time or something like that. I mean, as to where earlier in the season, he was way up closer into that like 45% completion range with those. And I don't know if you watch that. And of course they had to put in the backup quarterback to come throw the Hail Mary.
Yeah.
just leads me to believe that something's not right with Cam Newton here. And if something's not right with Cam Newton, there's just not enough weapons outside of Christian McCaffrey on this team for me to feel comfortable backing them anyway.
Yeah, I totally agree. Man, the Browns just burned me last week. Maybe the Texans actually are legit, and I need to adjust my capping because I thought the Browns were just as good as Houston. That is not the case. But the Browns return as home dogs here. I mean, this is one of those spots I love to hop back on the team that looked miserable last week. And I think you're right about Cam Newton. He's not 4 interceptions against the Buccaneers. There's definitely something not right there. And I feel like this line could be off by a few points. So I'm really, I mean, if this hits 3, I mean, I think the public might pound Carolina too, just because of the way the Browns looked last week. So if this hits 3, I think you have to take the value there with Cleveland.
Yeah, and another thing that I like to do with these 2s, we've talked about this on these videos before, guys, but like the 1.5s, the 2s, and the 2.5s, like if I like the dog, I will tease those all day long and get them through the 2 key numbers and take that. Pushing it through the 3 and the 7. So getting the Browns at home at 8 seems pretty awesome to me in this scenario, to be perfectly honest. I mean, like that just seems like I'm not going to say a can't lose situation. It's still the Browns, but I mean, that Panthers team's not right either. It looks like if you listen to the rumblings from all the people that know much more than you and I know, they're even saying that there could be some coaching changes going on, like head coaching wise there for Carolina as well.
Yeah.
The Colts heading to face the Texans. The Colts heading into Houston as 4.5-point dogs in this one. Colts getting shut out. Andrew Luck had thrown for 3 or more touchdown passes in like 6 straight games, and then they go and let the Cody Kessler-led Jacksonville Jaguars shut them out and beat them. What do you think of this number? This 4.5 number, it just seems odd to me. Like I see 4.5, so I'm kind of like, what are they trying to get me to bet here? I always get curious. It's like, what are they trying to make me bet with this one?
And that's exactly how I felt. Houston's clearly a team I have no read on. So I don't know. I was surprised to see that this was only 4.5 though. And I imagine the public is going to pound the Texans here at that number, but this is your classic stock high, stock low spot with the Colts coming off that shutout loss. It feels a little trappy.
Yeah, it does. It feels like a trap to me in this one. I don't know why. We're going to have to dig into this one a little bit more, like as the week rolls on, because that one just seems really, really odd to me. Patriots heading to Miami, take on the Dolphins. They are 7-point favorites on the road. We have a total of 47 in this one. Of course, it's well documented. The Patriots struggles against the Dolphins. It's actually 7.5 over at FanDuel. So if you do want the Patriots, you're going to want to head to DraftKings where it's at 7. This Patriots team, I mean, I know you've lived it in your whole life, but we're at that time of the season where Bill Belichick just like doesn't lose games anymore. Like he's figured out what is wrong with his team, and he's gone in and he's done all of his little notebook stuff, and he's fixed all the problems. And I don't know. It's going to be tough for me to not back the Patriots, or at least just pass on games involving the Patriots moving forward, because I've seen this song and dance in December too many times with this team.
Yeah, I don't know what to think of this line. The Patriots never cover in Miami, so that might be baked into this a little bit. But the Dolphins coming off a home win last week. This one moved 2.5 points at the Westgate since last week. The Patriots just find annoying ways to cover when you think they're the wrong. Even when they're on the wrong side, they still cover. So teams just crumble against them late in games, and that just is always a factor.
Yeah, I just. Man, it just every time I think like, okay, this is it. This is when they're finally gonna fall off, and they just never fall off. They never fall off. I just can't get it. Saints heading to Tampa to take on the Bucks in this game. We are looking at FanDuel, the Saints being 8-point favorites with a 56 total. Over on the DraftKings, it is still 8 and 56. You can see as we look over here on the lines, that has stuck at most of these books. It did move a 0.5 point at DraftKings. You can see whenever the article was posted on Monday. So it has moved a 0.5 point over there. So money coming in on the Saints here. I imagine some people thinking this is a pretty good bounce back spot for the Saints, who looked really, really bad on the road against the Cowboys last week on Thanksgiving. Brett, this Buccaneers team is one of the, I'm not going to say the most fun teams to watch, but dude, they put up offense and then they're so bad on defense that they allow the other team to put up offense. It's like, I just want to have one of my screens on a Bucks game every week just to watch the offenses just go up and down the field.
It's horrible football though. My God, it's just so bad. Now
it is.
There's some weird dynamics in this game though. The Saints off that loss to Dallas, they're on extra rest here, facing the only other team that beat them this season. That was all the way back in week 1. And the Bucks did look pretty good last week, so there's definitely some recency bias built into this current line. The Westgate opened it at 10 last week, so I mean, if you're still buying the Saints hype, and I know you are over there, there might be some merit in taking the road favor or the road favorite here.
Yeah. It's I'm gonna have to dig into this one a little bit further as well. Make sure that the Saints are still doing the things that they were doing at the beginning of the season and the middle part of the season as well to kind of get things on track there. It seems like they were all out of sorts against Dallas there, and we'll have to figure out how that plays out. Giants on the road at the Redskins, perhaps the worst game of the week here. 3.5 point favorites against the Redskins. Of course, if you were watching that game, you understand that now they're down not one, but 2 starting quarterbacks there for the Washington Redskins. It looks like at least they're going to be going with Mark Sanchez, Brett. I mean, I know that the last thing I read before we started taping this was they were going to try and sign Josh Johnson to come in or something.
Right.
Yeah, I know, right? So from what I saw from this Redskins team, if Mark Sanchez is under center, I just have no confidence in this team whatsoever. I feel horrible saying that I might back the Giants, the New York Football Giants, on the road, but good Lord, that Redskins team looked just like a JV team.
I know, and I always want to click on the Redskins, especially when they hang a juicy number like this. But I mean, come on. Like, I don't even know what this team is anymore. This is the 2017 Redskins all over again. Injuries all over the offensive line. Mark Sanchez a quarterback. There's just too much uncertainty to feel confident about either side here.
Yeah, this might just be a pass. Yeah, like you said, this one might just be a pass. It is 3.5 over at FanDuel if you do feel like the Giants
they're trying to get me.
Yeah.
They're trying to get me. Plus, you got Geno Smith on the other side for the Giants. I mean, I don't know what's going on with this game.
Yeah, who knows? Jets and Bills. We do not have a total in this one. We do have the Bills at 3.5 at DraftKings, 3.5 as well over at FanDuel. You're actually getting plus money on the Bills at 3.5 at FanDuel. You're getting plus 100 on them there. So obviously, if you want to take them, you're going to want to head to FanDuel because it's still juiced at minus 110 over on DraftKings. So for this sake, I'll click over to FanDuel as on the screen right here. So yeah, 3.5 on this Bills team. Listen, you're the Bills guy. You tried to convince me last week that Josh Allen was a good player and that he was actually a guy that we wanted to look at even in daily fantasy. I kind of laughed at you, and then he goes out there and absolutely destroys with his legs. Absolutely destroys. We're looking at a 38 total in this one over on FanDuel, at least. Looking at the 38 total there, I imagine they don't have the total posted on DraftKings because the Jets, of course, doing this weird thing where they're not going to tell us who's going to play quarterback until right before the game gets going. I think either way, I like the Bills here, but try and convince me otherwise.
I can't. I don't feel confident in either side here, really. I wouldn't call Josh Allen a good player yet either. I think he's a great fantasy player just because of what he does with his legs. But I mean, is he going to be able to do what he's done the past 2 weeks every single week? No, he's going to have duds, and that could very well be this week. So, coming off, I think 2 straight. Well, he definitely covered last week if you got the right line. But I mean, they're in games. He keeps them in games. I just don't know if I trust them as a favorite.
Yeah, I think right here is a situation where if I wanted the Bills, I would hold out and hope that the regional bias of the Jets takes over. And because we're already looking at least here at FanDuel, they're at plus 3.5, but it's juiced at minus 120. That means that they're holding off on moving that thing to 3. But, as the money keeps rolling in, it will eventually probably get to 3. So if I wanted that Bills side, I would certainly wait here just a little bit on that. Bengals heading to face the Chargers. The Chargers with a comeback for the ages against the Steelers. Looks like they were getting the doors blown off of them. They were the recipient of, and you can't even say home cooking because they were on the road, but the questionable calls or non-calls, if you will, from the referees. However, look, they got the job done. It is what it is. They are 14-point home favorites against the Bengals. If you haven't been following the Bengals saga, Andy Dalton out for the season, Tyler Eifert out for the season, and now AJ Green out for the season as well. So just a bad situation there for this Bengals team. And of course, they're fielding a defense that doesn't look like they want to play anymore either.
No, I would say that's the most disappointing thing in the entire season is that Bengals defense, because I had a lot of hope in them coming in. I mean, like you said, no AJ Green. This offense it's a disaster without him. So 2 touchdowns here seems like a pretty fair line. I mean, the Chargers are a Super Bowl contender. They continue to prove that every week. But they do have the Chiefs next Thursday. So, I mean, if you believe in whether teams look ahead, this might be a prime spot for that to happen. So something to keep in mind. I don't know if that's actually a thing, but maybe when it's a 14-point line, it might be.
So this is you basically stole my thoughts right there. This seems like a prime backdoor cover situation for the Bengals that I want no part of, because it's going to be one of those things where the Chargers dominate for 3 quarters and you're like, wow, this has been a complete and utter domination. And then they understand that they have one of the most important games of the season next week, and then they pull all their starters, and then the Bengals just get a couple of cheap scores. I don't like this particular game for that scenario, so it's probably going to be a pass for me this week. I don't think that there's any number that this could get to that would get me to put money on that game, unfortunately, because I actually am a believer in this Chargers team.
Yeah, they're legit. I've loved this team for a couple of years, and finally they're starting to get healthy and playing well.
We got Denver heading to play the 49ers. As you see right here, Denver 5.5-point favorites, a 45.5-point total in this one over on DraftKings, and same 5.5 and 45 over on FanDuel as well. 49ers, again, I mean, you've been following this team all along. I mean, just, injury to Jimmy G, and that season was over. And fairly interesting, again, one of those weird lines, the 5.5, right? It's one of those weird lines. You don't see it incredibly often. Broncos, not a team that I typically like to back away from home. I certainly don't like them on the road. So I don't know if I'll play this one either, Brett, but if anything, I would be weirdly attracted to the 49ers, and that seems almost weird to say.
No, I think you're right. I mean, the Broncos have been metrics darlings all season. That's finally translating onto the field with those 2 impressive wins, and then they get the big road win last week. They can't afford to let up. So, I mean, they're right outside the playoff line, so they're going to show up and play here. But there's got to be value. There has to be value in the 49ers. The Broncos stock is so high right now. Yeah,
just weird team, weird line right there. Lions at the Cardinals. Never mind. This is the worst game of the week. I spoke too soon. Lions at the Cardinals, 2.5 here. I don't have much to say about this one. I'll certainly probably be staying away. What do you feel about Lions at 2.5 as road favorites against this Cardinals team?
I mean, Detroit actually looked pretty good last week against the Rams. I still think they are playing. They don't want to lose this game. So that said, though, Detroit is a road favorite. I don't know. Yeah. Like you said, I'm not too confident either.
I might have to dig into that one just a little bit further before I have a real good thought on that. Philadelphia Eagles heading to face the Dallas Cowboys in a huge game in the NFC East. The Eagles are 3.5-point road dogs. We got a total of 43 over here on FanDuel. Same deal, 3.5-point road dogs. Total of 43. Both of these teams, Brett, are kind of weird to me because both of them never actually look like on the field that they're playing well, but they've still just been able to scrap out enough wins to where they're both obviously fighting for this division championship at this point. The Eagles defense, incredibly exploitable through the air. Cowboys defense has actually been fairly stout when you look at basically all the advanced metrics. This Cowboys defense, kind of top to bottom, has been pretty good. I think this is really going to do you think that this is really going to be how effective the Cowboys can be through the air? Because you understand Zeke's going to get his. He gets his every single week. It almost just to me seems like, can Dak make enough plays through the air for them to cover 3.5 at home?
Absolutely agree. This Eagles secondary is an infirmary right now. I mean, they looked awful. Even in that win last on Monday night, they looked awful. So I don't know. Dallas looks pretty good to me. I came into the season thinking they would finish last in the division, and here they are. My eyes tell me they are the best team here. So I mean, that's standard NFC East, right?
Yeah.
This feels like a pretty fair line. I think Dallas is the better team. So 3.5.
Yeah, and that total, pretty right on as well. Looking at 43, I mean, you could see a 24-21 game, put it right on the number there and stuff. So yeah, that's a good line and a good total now. And Steelers heading to face Oakland. Steelers 11-point road favorites here, heading to Oakland. 51.5 is the total in this one. That is the same over on FanDuel as you see right here. Brett, the Steelers team gave it away. I mean, they just gave it away. The next gen stats on the NFL Twitter came out right after the game, and it was almost as if they were like poking holes in the Steelers and everything that they did in the second half. They were covering Keenan Allen with a linebacker more times than they were covering him with an actual cornerback. And what did he do? He ended up getting, 19 targets?
19 targets, 16 receptions.
Yeah, I mean, it's just absolutely let him beat them in this game. And it seems like any coach with half a brain would be like, wow, he's catching every ball they throw his way. Maybe we shouldn't cover this guy with a linebacker, but that was not the case. The Steelers allowed the Chargers to do whatever they want and came back here. Man, I also start handicapping coaching as well this time of year, Brett. And after watching that game, I was very disappointed in the Steelers. I got to be honest.
Well, you got Gruden on the other side of this one, so I don't know which side is worth. But look, it's hard to buy the Steelers right now, winning by double digits anywhere. Yeah. And I think the public might actually sniff out a bad line here. I mean, Big Ben and Tomlin on the road against a pro football team.
No James Conner. No James Conner this week either.
Yeah, I don't know if that really matters, but maybe a little bit. Typically we see the Steelers surge in December, but some early road games here this month. Big Ben showing his age. I think this is a really good spot for Oakland.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. I would certainly, at least on initial thought, lean towards Oakland here, but again, we'll be back later in the week with some picks videos here. Rams at Bears. Rams 3-point road favorites at the Bears in the game that everyone will be talking about as to how the hell you play this game, because you have the best offense in the league against the best defense in the league, and something's got to give. You can see here at FanDuel actually getting plus money if you wanted to take the Bears right now, +3 and +100 over there on FanDuel. So that early money coming in on the Rams at 3, you can see them juiced to -120 here. My initial thought is 10 years ago, good defense beats good offense. In 2018, I almost feel like good offense beats good defense. And I saw this 3, and I was really, really tempted right then and there to take the Rams in this one. I got to be honest with you.
I agree with you that offense trumps defense, but it is Jared Goff. I mean, if this was Patrick Mahomes, I would feel strongly about the offensive side. But, man, Goff against this defense is a little scary. But then on the other side, you've got Chase. Is it going to be Daniel? Is it going to be Trubisky?
Right.
I don't know. I'm super excited about this game, though. I can't wait.
The total was pretty interesting as well at 52.5.
That's high.
So they are certainly thinking that the Bears are going to be able to score on this Rams. And, of course, the Rams defense is nothing to write home about. But, I mean, we're still looking at this Bears offense that is certainly not a juggernaut by any stretch of the imagination. So that number seemed a little high to me. Certainly something I'm going to look into a little bit further as well. And to close out the week, Vikings at Seahawks. We're going to close out with some good games. This is the Sunday night game and the Monday night game. Some good games here. Of course, the Vikings just clawing to any hope they have left of making the playoffs. 3-point road dogs here against the Seattle Seahawks, which, of course, if you believe everything that you read about the Seahawks and everything that goes on up there in Seattle, one of the very toughest places to play on the road for Seattle. Brett, I will fully admit when I'm wrong. I was wrong about the Seahawks team.
Me too.
I thought this Seahawks team was going to struggle this year. I thought this was more of a rebuilding year and they would be back next year. They have not done that, and they figured out ways to win despite the fact that Russell Wilson only threw the ball 17 times this past week. I mean, they have just become this team that wants to run it down your throat. But look, so far, it's working.
Yeah, I mean, you talked about coaching earlier. Well, this is a team that thrives on good coaching. I mean, Pete Carroll gets his boys up. And this is an interesting one because I feel like Seattle and Minnesota have a bigger edge at home than most sides. So I tend to, when Minnesota and Seattle are on the road, I tend to like the other side more, and a little leverage situation here with these two teams. So I kind of like Seattle at that number.
Yeah, 45 is the total in this one. When I looked at that, I saw the total and I go, yeah, seems about right. That like I was like, yeah, okay, 45. Yeah, I mean that's about right. Seems
another 24-21 game. That's how that's gonna play out.
Yeah. I mean, I was like, yeah, that seems about right for sure. Guys, so be sure, and as you're here, hit that subscribe button down below. Please do that. We would really appreciate you to do that while you're here. And, of course, give us a like and let us know in the comments what you're doing. One of the other interesting things here, Brett, we talked about, of course, a lot of times we'll talk about football. As we move into basketball season, we'll talk some basketball and baseball and whatnot. But there was a big boxing match this past week. And in the Wilder Fury fight at the FanDuel Sportsbook over at Meadowlands, somebody actually put down a $5,000 bet at 33-1 that the draw would hit. Of course, if you were watching the fight, you knew the draw actually hit, and they had to pay this guy $165,000 for him putting his $5,000 on the 33-1 draw. Man, that guy's living right. That guy is living right for sure.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that, right? I mean, like the 5K bet for the 33-1 draw to hit. I mean, man, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. Tell you, guys, what you're looking at right here is below the article here on the lines. Of course, is all the great offers that we have across the sports books over there in New Jersey. So please head to this. You can get them at PlayPicks. You can get them at the lines, wherever you get them. Just get them. It's free $25 at DraftKings Sportsbook. It's up to $500 in free bets at BetStars. Up to $500 risk-free bet at FanDuel. And I've done all these, so I know that they work. I know that these are all real things here. $10 free at 888 and up to a $250 bonus at Sugar House as well. All you got to do is click one of these buttons right here and it will give you the offer. So if you're going to bet, take the free money, take the free bets, take all the things like that, because why would you not? Right?
Yeah, I mean, definitely don't forget Sugar House either. Late in the week, they offer reduced VIG, the shortest VIG in the industry. So I mean, that's a good place to fire some NFL bets on Sunday for sure.
Yeah, I mean, and we have between all of our sites, between PlayPicks, between the lines, between all of our other sites, we have the best offers in the industry. So don't go, just use these buttons, click on these buttons here. Again, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. Let us know who you're playing this week. Let us know what happened to you this past week. We certainly want to know. Like some conversation here. We'll certainly be chatting back at you down there in the comments as well. DKPicks.com for the free $25 as well. And of course, make the lines part of your daily process whenever you're going through the websites that you like to read every day. Awesome news at the lines with all of the different sports betting things that are going on in the industry right now. And the industry is popping. There's something new basically every single day. You can follow them at the Lines US, and you can follow at PlayPicks US as well. Brett, thanks for joining me, man. I think this is fun, and I think we should do this basically every week moving forward. What do you say?
Well, then let's do it every week.
All right, love it.
Had a blast.
All right, guys, thanks so much. We'll see you here later in the week for Thursday Night Football. Hey guys, thanks for checking out this video. While you're here, hit that subscribe button right down below. Make sure you never miss a video. When you get done doing that, please head to playpicks.com/bonus for the very best deposit bonus and free money offers on the internet.